For the first time, we're going to be growing our own mushrooms from home. We got ours from North Spore, and there are two ways to inoculate and grow your medium for growing your own mushroom spores. One of those is inside of wood chips, inside of your garden beds, and the other one is inside of logs. Since this is our first year doing this, we had North Spore send us 2 books to really help us, guide us into inoculating our own wood mediums. So it seems like, to be honest, putting inside of wood chips inside of your garden beds isn't really that big of a deal, and it's pretty easy. It's growing inside of wood logs that is a lot more, there's a lot more steps, and even the types of logs you're growing in really have to be considered. When those logs were cut, what time of the year they were cut, and when you inoculate them. So that one we're going to be doing a video on when we inoculate our logs. We are waiting for the right logs to come in. I'll explain that one more in a little bit. Now, since we got these books, it makes it very easy for us to kind of look at the type of spore that we got. This one's wine cap. Flip to the wine cap page, and it tells us the level of difficulty, the types of stuff that we can plant it in, so hardy wood chips, sawdust, straw, agricultural byproducts such as rice or even bean hulls, corn stalks, etc. So there's a lot that this can grow in the medium in the garden bed itself. Kind of growing kind of like that. And they come in packages that look just like this. So we're going to be, in the next couple weeks, we're going to be preparing those garden beds because we don't want them to freeze yet. We're gonna prepare the garden beds, prepare the wood chips, and we're gonna get those into the beds. Those should be the easy ones. The hard ones are anything that grows in the logs. Now, we're not going to be growing in logs in stumps. We're gonna be growing in logs like this. But let me explain why we actually can't do that just yet. So it's going to look more so something like this when we're planting, when we're inoculating really. We're not necessarily planting these, we're inoculating the wood. Being brand new to growing mushrooms ourselves in our own logs, there's a very handy cheat sheet in here to really help know which time of the year is best for planting or for grabbing your wood, and for what type of wood for each type of plant, for each type of mushroom there is, because not all of wood is suitable for all the mushroom types. We knew going into this that the wood that we had the most access to that would be the most suitable was sugar maple, which we have all around here in Tennessee. So a lot of the times when we do get wood, we either get sugar maple wood chips or sugar maple logs. And that came with a problem with our kind of setup that we have right now. Let me just go show you. I had prepared throughout fall and winter to bring all of these wood logs in for a few different reasons. One of the reasons was so that I can, have firewood. I can have logs to make garden beds, but also so that I can use these logs to inoculate mushrooms like I knew I really wanted to do. Now the issue is I'm forgetting what some of them are, and they've kind of dried out quicker than I expected. So I think this one's oak, which is not what we want. There are a lot. Well, just look, there's a lot. The problem isn't just what wood am I planting in or inoculating, it's also, is the wood still wet? Because if the wood isn't wet, then it's not living, and if it's not living, then the mushrooms aren't really gonna work inside of there. It's gotta be a living, fresher piece of wood that still has its own life to it. And I'm looking around right now to see if I even see any. Now, some of this is the freshest stuff that was brought in that I need to double check with the arborist to make sure what this is. This stuff should still be wet, but I don't remember what it is. The biggest thing that I have to be aware of is the time and the year and the season that it was cut in. Because let's refer back to that little pamphlet they got us. This handy dandy pamphlet is showing us that spring, fresh budding and leaving out is not ideal. Worst time for getting the wood to inoculate. Once it's green and they're cutting it down once it's green, that's fine. Good, not ideal. Going dormant and dormant wood is ideal. I know that I have some trees over there that are either that were cut when they were going dormant or were dormant, but I need to make sure that they're still alive. Alive pieces of wood, meaning that they're not just fully dried out. I need to be careful that I'm not taking from any of the wood they're bringing in right now, because all of the trees are not even sprouting yet. They're just barely budding, and they're not even looking a tiny bit green. They're about to in the next, 2 weeks or so, but we're not there yet, and it's something I need to watch out for. And I want the freshest wood, the wood that's going to be the best for it, but I definitely don't want the freshest wood that's budding out wood. But with that, we also got a few tools. So this tool is actually for inoculating the wood. We'll fill this tip and inject it out. But that's after we use this little guy, put it on one of our tools, drill hundreds of holes throughout those wooden logs, and then inoculate, and then put a wax over it to really seal that in. And all these tools were purchased on North Spore's website that we got also. It's just have to make sure to keep it all together so I don't lose any of it. Just have to wait a little bit. Well, once we do inoculate those wooden logs, this is where we intend to keep them. Inside of here, behind this cattle panel, so I could keep any other animals and whatever away from those logs, just in case we have dogs. Who knows what's gonna happen. And then, well, they're gonna grow inside of here. We'd have to keep them moist so we have quicker and easier access to water inside of these woods. And they're gonna be shaded inside of this area. It gets way more shaded once the dormant trees are really coming back. But this is where we're gonna let them sit, inside of the wooded areas, and hopefully they're gonna grow really well. Now, before we head over to the garden, I want to show you we have what seems to be almost an unlimited access to wood chips. This has become a dump site for our arborist, who has become like a friend, where they just keep dumping because we accept the wood from them and we accept the chips. They have to pay to drop them off somewhere else, so we just let them dump here. And it has been a benefit to them and a benefit to us. Into the garden. Now again, it's not season for us to plant yet. This is our garlic that's growing, but it's inside of these wood chip bed piles that we're going to be growing those easier to grow mushrooms. They're just gonna go right inside of here and then grow among our other plants that we have growing. This is something that's gonna be easier for us to achieve than those logs. The logs, I believe, will give us longer lasting mushrooms. I think we'll get about 2 years out of them. This, I can't remember properly, but I think we only get a year out of this growing season. We might get 2, but I think we get a year out of it. But they'll be growing among our plants, and it's the best thing because it's gonna break down the wood chips and add a lot of benefit to our plants. This is something we're so excited about, and harvesting our own mushrooms. That is one of the biggest things, harvesting our own mushrooms. Now I know we're not taking any of those mushrooms and putting them in the ground or in the logs today, but right now is really the time to consider doing this at home and for yourself. So before I actually made the videos for putting them in and inoculating on our own, I wanted to encourage you, maybe look into doing this too, because tons of us love mushrooms. They have tons of health benefits and they're really great for you. Also, maybe consider growing some mushrooms for yourself. I haven't done it yet, but I presume this is going to be one of the easier growing things. I was going to say growing plants, but they're not plants, than some of this other stuff. I just think that you just keep the soil moist and they'll grow among your plants. I think it's that easy. I'm not sure yet. This is the first year, but I really think it's that easy. Let me get you back over to our mushrooms. We'll quickly show you the types of mushrooms that we got, but do consider subscribing and following along because we will be inoculating all of our wood chips, wood chip mounds, wood chip stuff, and inoculating those logs. So follow along if you're curious on doing this. Do consider also doing this yourself. And then let's head back over there and I will show you the types of mushrooms that we got. Inside of here, because we're keeping them cool, is wine cap, lion's mane, golden oysters, blue oysters, and shiitake mushrooms. And that's it. We got these 5 spores. And we're very excited to get them in and start our own mushroom journey. So do consider following along. And like I said before, do this yourself too, because I think this is a really great way to just have mushrooms. Well, thanks for watching, and we will be going over planting them or inoculating whatever we're putting them in. So I'll see you then, and till then, good luck on your gardens.